Welcome to Marketers Talking Marketing.
Welcome to another episode of Marketers Talking. We have an exciting conversation for you today. But before we kick it off, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Joshua Monge, and I work as a fractional COO and occasionally a CRO/CMO.
I like it. I love the operations side because for those who may not know, my background is also very systems focused, operations focused. And I feel like when it comes to marketing, sales, go to market, whatever we want to call it, operations is like this secret weapon that if you understand it really well,
Yeah.
you can play on a totally different field than someone who just understands tactics or strategy.
Yes, the tactics, like you were saying, it's posting on your website, doing social posting, doing SEO. Yeah, those are all the tactical pieces. Everybody has to do it, but then how do you do it in a regular cadence, and how do you keep information flowing, especially when your teams ebb and flow with giving your content and market shifts and everything else, and then you have to pivot. And so having a core solid process in place to do your marketing, and then have a cadence to your marketing that can ebb and flow, but still be a strong, like that drum line on a song. You should have a marketing cadence to it, and then everything else can kind of fit on top of it. So that's where operations like super helpful, I think, to kind of get that core piece in. And then you can also test everything against it. So when they decide, oh, by the way, we should go to this convention and do boothing, and you're like, but how does that fit in the main plan? And then the logistics, like who's going to go on the team? Like we're going to pull people off the line, or so then operations gets to like kind of comment on those things.
Specifically with events, I cannot even tell you the number of times I've spoken to sales reps or marketers about events, and they don't do any like specific follow-up with the leads. They don't have a nurture they put them into. They're like, our reps are going to set meetings and they'll take care of it. Sales will take care of it. They're in the booth.
Yeah.
And half the time it's like not even giving sellers direction in the booth, just assuming that if you just put a salesperson in the wild, they'll sell.
Yeah. Well, I think it's something, a little preamble that we had was, are they hunters or are they farmers? And, not everyone's ready to buy right now. And so what do you do with those people that obviously were interested because they came by the booth? Just getting their information, putting it into the CRM, and then following up every couple of weeks with the person. That's how I've gotten my best clients is it's not people that bought right away. I'm not a great, like, out the gate salesperson. The flash in the pan, it's really like the people that sell the sizzle, like they get those people right away. And then 3 months, 6 months later, something's not being delivered or things are not quite in alignment. I'm kind of the like, hey, I'll talk to you like when you're ready, like let me know. I'll just keep following up with you. And I get great clients that way.
I'll come in and fix what the sizzle broke because the sizzle sizzled out.
Right? Yeah. Like you're sitting there eating the sizzle and you're like, man, there's got to be steak here somewhere. It's like, let me, here's the cow walking along. I will bring you the steak. Don't worry.
Yeah. And then you get in there and it's like, oh, you don't have a naming convention. Everything is named differently. Every report is different.
So tell me how you do what do you find your images for your social posts? I usually have to go chase people down and ask. You're like, why is there not a folder, like a marketing folder that everyone's dumping things in that we can clearly label all the events they went to or who the people are? Like, just come up with some little clear codex. That's operations. See? Oh.
Yeah, like any organization in general. Now, I think it's interesting because you start an agency, scaled that, and then you also do the fractional COO work, which on the surface might feel different, but it seems like they actually are really connected once you dig into it.
Very much so. And I think the reason for that is I like to think of it as like kind of one stone in the water, many ripples. And so, if you look at buyer journeys and how people actually buy, it's usually not one channel, I saw your Instagram 20 times, now I'm ready to buy your product. It's they saw it on your Instagram, and then they go to your website, and then they might fill out a form, and then they might download something, and then they'll, there's a process to that. And so I think having an operations mindset, knowing that basically the digital marketing, we call it BizBot Web, and it's a web. And so everything circles back to the website and to the CRM. And so everything that happens, we're tying everything together. And so you can actually see where all the touches that happen on this person to eventually where they decide to buy. And so then what we're looking to do then is to optimize that journey and keep funneling people through those processes to get to that final destination of, hey, I think I'm ready to buy. Like, let's have that conversation. So
since you mentioned CRM, do you have a favorite CRM?
So this is the operations brain of me, is I try to build things agnostic to systems because all systems have limitations. But the default one that I'm playing around with right now is HighLevel. Um, it's it's built by digital marketers for
Right.
digital marketing purposes. The coding on it's a little weird, and it's one of those we do 20 things, and so immediately you're like, okay, so which one do you do okay? It actually handles quite a bit, and I haven't pushed it to full capacity, but I've been impressed with everything it's done so far. Um, and I think it's sufficient for the people that I'm working with. They're getting into their first time really building out a more comprehensive marketing plan. They're kind of going from like Bob or Joe or the owner does a really good job at sales, and so that's how we've made money, or we get tons of referrals because we do really good work. Okay, but what about the people that never have heard of you or have that pain point, but aren't in your market? They're just one market over. Like, have you thought about how to reach them? Oh, yeah, that's probably a good idea. Cool. Well, let's do a little SEO. Let's do some social outreach, and then we could do some targeted emails or some LinkedIn outreach. So
Yeah, I feel like I saw HighLevel mentioned a couple times in like different ClickFunnels groups and
yeah,
here and there, and then all of a sudden overnight, it's like everyone is talking about it.
yeah, they kind of have a. Oh man, I'm gonna get myself kicked off of this or whatever. They have this like whole MLM approach to it where it's all affiliate links, affiliate links, affiliate links. And so everybody's, dropping the money for the SaaS product, and then they're trying to like get everybody on board. But I mean, it's kind of like handing somebody like a 18-wheeler truck, here you go for it. And then people are like, I don't like, how do I work all this stuff? And what do I do with everything? And so it gets really overwhelming. And then I've met other people that resell HighLevel because you can white label it, and so they're calling it all kinds of different names.
Oh,
But then I look at the format of it. I'm like, oh, that's HighLevel, and so then when they tell their vendor, like, by the way, I met this guy. He says it's HighLevel. What's that? And they're like, oh, yeah, we don't really tell people that, but it's our white label.
yeah, yeah.
So it's a good program. I think it does some good integrations, and I think if like all tools and resources, like stage those and level those up as you are progressing. Um, but it's definitely, I think it's more friendlier than Salesforce or
Oh
even
my God.
Bot.
Everything is more friendly than Salesforce. Like the bar is on the ground. Maybe it's even buried
Yeah,
for being friendlier than Salesforce to use. And yeah, HubSpot is like there's so much to it. Where do you
yeah,
even start?
yeah,
So I saw it's funny you mentioned the MLM side because I googled HighLevel versus because I wanted to learn more about it and see reviews.
yeah,
And there's a Reddit thread where people are like, is HighLevel good? And a lot of people comment and said it's going to feel a little bit like skeevy because they do resell and some people use it as like they think it's some get rich quick scheme,
yeah.
but the technology is actually really good. So like don't let that deter you. Like the technology is good. It just has this like weird community that it's also fostering.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, because a lot of the people are very like, again, very like, it feels like a lot of sizzle again, to kind of go back to what we were saying before, where it's like, oh, just don't worry about it. Like, it's a CRM, go, go, go. And then people are like, but what is the CRM? And like, what do I do with it? And how do I actually leverage it? So I think some training and some help with that. There's definitely some good names that are providing like really solid training programs that go along with it. But I think what I would kind of equate it, and I've shared this with other people, is the difference between a Mac and a PC. Like
mhm.
Mac comes out of the box, it's all kind of very limited in what you can do. I mean, you can't replace parts, and they're very protective of their software and how it's structured and organized. And then PC, it's like you could whatever if you could build it and throw it in there, make it work for you. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I think that's what HighLevel feels like, is very like it's got API integrations, it's got webhooks, it's got work automations that play really nicely with other programs. So um, but yeah, there's definitely a degree of like knowledge and insight you have to use it. But even at the core level, I have clients that I've taught to use it within 30 minutes. I've already leveled up their whole sales process by having a CRM. So
Nice. Yeah. It sounds like, or let me take a step back actually with this question. So if someone's listening to us and they're saying, you know what, I'm a marketer, I'm an operator, maybe not an operations person, marketer, sales, whatever role. And I probably do need to get more operations focused. I do need to start thinking more systemically. Where do they start? Do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, definitely. It's it's one thing to get something right one time and get lucky. I mean, that essentially you're lucky at that point. If you could do the best research and you can come with the best plan, but that first time kind of is, you plan for luck on some level. But if you can repeat it and actually have the same thing happen again, then you definitely want to operationalize that. And so to do that, basically just sit down with a pen and paper and like literally write out the steps of what you did to make things happen. And then when you look at those steps, then you can look back through and go, okay, wait, I missed a step. And then you can fix that one and just keep iterating and keep refining it. And then so that would be documenting kind of your process for that. And then if you want to scale, or if you want to get other people to help you, then look at those different steps and see, can I hand this off to somebody, or can I write an SOP that somebody could do this one little piece, get that going. And then also, once you get that mapped out, look through and go, is there any automations I can do? And so the quickest automation I would recommend for any marketer out there is to have some sort of intake form for all of your clients, have it electronic that they can self-fill it out. And then that way, have that feed into your CRM, into your project management system and everything else. So then automatically it sets up everything for you. So then onboarding clients isn't this big complicated process. It's very smooth and easy.
Yeah, I love automation. Though it's shit in, shit out. So if you automate inefficiencies, you're just amplifying it.
Yeah.
But yeah, automation can be such a game changer. And there's so many great tools like Make.com and Zapier that let you really hook up anything regardless of what you're using.
Yeah. And, a lot of people use calendar programs. And so Calendly is kind of a big one. And they actually have a webhook integration. And so, I mean, everyone that I work with, or that we work with, we with their CRM, we can webhook their Calendly into their CRM. So all of a sudden, all those people that they're meeting with, they've got, hey, I met with the person, I've got their name, I've got their phone number, and yeah.
And I'm going to remind it's going to send me a to-do item afterwards, actually send them an email follow-up.
Yeah. And you'd be surprised how many people you just follow with them like 2-3 times. They're like, oh yeah, I remember talking to you. What was the sales pitch again? And then you talk to them about it and they're like, yeah, I still need that. They're like, cool. Thanks for reminding me that I still need this thing. So
yeah, it's definitely, I feel like the secret of sales is just repeatability. Repeat touches with someone.
All the salespeople are like, that's it. We're not listening to this anymore. They're like, no, it's magic secret sauce and influence. And I don't know. I mean, yeah, it is. I think at the core, especially if you want something that's repeatable and other things that other people can do, then you definitely need to operationalize those things and find those message points and those customer kind of journey that people are going through to make that consistent as possible and simple as possible. I think that's going to give you the predictive sales and marketing I think every business really wants.
Yeah. Speaking of sales and marketing, so when you launched an agency and you grew it pretty fast, do you have any insights or lessons learned for someone who might be listening who's also thinking of launching their own venture?
Yeah. So my very first piece of advice I give any entrepreneur when they ask me like, "Hey, I want to do this business. What do you think?" I tell them, "Don't do it." And then they usually look at me and they're like, "What's wrong with you, man? Like you're supposed to be encouraging me." And I was like, "Well, you know, I've had one person, they're like, yeah, you're probably right." And I was like, "Well, you just failed the first test of entrepreneurship because this is not an easy road. Like it's hard." So I think especially in the marketing world right now, you know, you can probably flip burgers for like way better price, like right off the bat. I'm just kidding. I'm just totally.
I mean, listen, there are some burger shops that have health insurance.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
get paid time off, you
If
get
you're in
vacation time, and you
Southern
get free
California,
food.
In and Out, they pay really well, and it's a
Yeah.
great job, and you've got advancement opportunities. Now, I would say the reason why I did well, one, it was because it was during COVID, everybody was going online, and I was offering SEO, and then I was basically unpacking the black box and being a work with you provider. So for me, I understood what was going on in you know the world, and then kind of how I could position myself. And so any of the incumbents that were in the space, you know, they don't want to give up the secret sauce, or they want to be the go-to for knowledge keepers. And so by kind of reframing that, I think that's the reason why I was able to do that. And so I think anyone entering the market right now is, where are you competing? And if you're competing as a commodity, then you're going to be competing on price. And you've got AI now, you've got automations now, and you've got, the world is just getting smaller and smaller. So there's people in other countries that will do 10, 20 times more work for a fraction of the price. So what you have to offer has to be something that's really unique. And I think figure out what it is that you're providing and then how you're kind of tackling and differentiating yourself against what's currently in the market. So, and I apologize, but I'm very harsh when it comes to talking to marketers about when they can't find business or they can't figure out how to get their business going. I was like, but that's what you do, right?
Yeah. You can market other people, but not yourself.
Oh, it's a cobbler kid problem. I'm so busy. I just don't do my own marketing. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, it is very much like the cobbler's children has no shoes,
Right.
but that shouldn't be the norm. Like, there are a lot of cobblers whose children have shoes. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Or if your shop is empty, guess what you should be making? Shoes for yourself.
Yeah.
Like, just take care of your own stuff.
I feel like this is, I heard a quote the other day, and it was about childhood trauma.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, like, you can say your trauma made you stronger, but wouldn't it have been nice to, like, find out how strong you are without it?
Oh.
And as, like, we like to say that it's like the sacrifice is justified because it makes us more successful, and we don't know that. And so, like, who knows, maybe if you did take, like, I have to do this for myself. I am so guilty of this. So, like,
Yeah.
I have been the person who needed someone to be like, what the fuck are you doing? But if you take 5 hours a week and you, like, block off an hour a day just to work on your own stuff, you're probably not going to lose clients. You're not going to sacrifice client work. And who knows how much more you could get out of actually focusing on yourself too.
Yeah. I mean, that would be the second piece of advice to give to marketers is like, yeah, make sure you're drinking your own Kool-Aid or, eating your own meal or whatever, however you want to say that, because, you know, there's going to be lean times. Like you could be a really great, I mean, listen, I'm not trying to knock really great marketers and like people that are doing really well. Fine. You've got credibility and you're getting referrals and you're making money. Like, it's not a high priority for you, but then what are you demonstrating? Like, and where's that first social proof is usually when somebody comes to your brand to see what you do. It's nice to see that you're demonstrating the behaviors that you're instilling into others. So
yeah, there's so many influencers. I say so many. That's probably like a much like generous statement. There are influencers though who I know have launched careers doing social media marketing for other people because they were able to grow their own brand.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's the inverse is true. And so if you are trying to do this for other people, but you don't have that proof of even with yourself, it feels like there's something lacking. Someone's listening and they're just like, you guys are assholes. Like, that's not true. I don't need social media for myself.
They said that?
No, I'm sure someone is.
I was like, dang, okay.
I'm sure someone's listening and they're saying that in their head at least.
Well, I mean, so my first inclination is to agree with them because I think social media is great for awareness, but it's so high level. And then I've actually worked with a couple influencers in different spaces. And I'm like, cool, you've got 1 million followers or that went viral or you've gone viral every couple months. Great. Show me your bank account. Like, how did that impact your bottom line? And they're so struggling to make it. So they don't have branding in place. They don't have products to offer. They're just missing kind of those monetizations of their own channels. So, and you can't pay electric bill on, 5,000 followers, 10,000, 100 million, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
So
there's definitely people who I think have small followings that have been able to successfully monetize.
Yeah.
More than people who have bigger followings but don't know how to actually like translate that into sales or into sponsorships or however they're choosing to monetize.
Yeah. Well, and I would definitely say that, I wouldn't, a little tongue in cheek there with the whole social media thing. I don't think that's the main strategy, but I think it's part of a comprehensive strategy. So definitely need social. I think it's easy to do. It's very, flash and like it's very quick and you're there. And so it's easy way for people to see things. But your message is going out into the sea of like, millions and billions of people. And so you know, you need something a little more solid, and you probably want to do a little pre-qualifying before, you know, like, I don't know. Even with some of my websites, it's like I have all the information up there, read everything you want, and then when people, by the time they contact me, they're already like, I've read through your website, I've seen your posts, I kind of get a sense of who you are, and like, I want to work with you. Great. I didn't have to have all that conversation with everybody, and I didn't have to do all these social posts, and I didn't have to do all this extra work to make that happen. So even my channels, you know, I keep them pretty minimal, but then it's just to keep those active and alive. But
Yeah.
I'm not spending like 30 hours a week trying to get to be an influencer in any particular channel or anything like that. So
Yeah. I feel like sales is really the methods of sales that are most effective are really changing more rapidly in the recent history. Because I think about the number of, on the B2B side, the number of clients I've worked with where we know from the data that their average consumer is coming to the website a ton. They're spending a lot of time making decision, and they're reaching out to the seller when they're ready, which means what's coming through the door is so much more qualified, but it's lower volume.
right.
But they're ready to buy, and it's a challenge at times to get ahead of that person when they're in the decision cycle, because we don't know anymore with like the reduction in cookies and people having more avenues to do research that doesn't involve talking to a sales rep direct. It's almost like people are buying more, they want to get sold to less, and your ability to like directly influence in a measurable way is almost decreasing.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Because I've watched the internet go from, you know, Facebook back when you had to be like a college student to get.
I remember the day my university got Facebook.
Okay, so we're dating ourselves here. So
Yeah.
some of the younger folks there was actually a time when the internet was, you had to type in IP addresses and you could only get text. So
Yeah. Wait, so, okay, related but not related. I recently got married, so I changed my last name.
okay,
And so it's on my to-do list. I got to it at like 2 a.m. on a Saturday. I was like, oh, I should go change my last name with Social Security Administration.
Yeah.
Their website has working hours.
Yeah.
Their website
Yeah.
to log in and do stuff is
Yeah.
not available 24 hours a day.
No. Because there's somebody actually on the other end. It's almost like it's like two steps above the can with the string. So
Yeah.
there's literally somebody waiting in the office. Like he shows up and then he turns on the internet for turns on the website.
Yep. He's like, oh, let me power up the dusty computer that it's getting hosted on. I couldn't believe it though, because I haven't seen a website with working hours in like a decade plus.
That's so funny. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's probably because I'm assuming they do like frequent updates, and they don't want people to know when they're doing updates, so they're not taking it down for maintenance. So they're like, every night for 4 hours, we're going down. But I was like, working hours on a website, like what year is it?
Wait, how did we get on this trail? Because I think the part where we took the left turn, I think that's what we were trying to make a point there. I feel like we got lost there.
Yes, we were. Back in the day, Facebook, when Facebook first rolled out on the internet.
So social media, something. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay. The listeners are going to like rewind and they're going to be like, oh my gosh, you guys totally missed it here.
It's okay. We'll get back there.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. The world's small. There's only so many roads.
Just keep pressing forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, so with internet usage and
sales, inbound, outbound.
Yes, so sales. Okay, sorry. Yes, great. So there's a book called Here Comes Everybody. I think it's Clay Shirky that wrote it. And basically he was saying that it's the globalization of access to everything and everyone. And basically we've lowered all the barriers to entry. So I remember when like Twitter first came out, Jack Dorsey, like he actually retweeted a tweet that I posted, and I thought I was like big shit for about 30 minutes. And then I got to meet Jason Fried with Basecamp, the founder of Basecamp. I met him on Clubhouse. Like that was super cool. And so like the barriers to get to access to people, and then all of a sudden the access to information. Like now you can do anything. Like you want to make a boat, like go on YouTube and like watch it, or you want to figure out how to like write a contract, like go look at TikTok or use AI. I mean, like anything and everything you want to do right now, it's like it's just available. So then the old school, like the salespeople had the secret knowledge and you had to like trust them, and then that was the only way to get information. All that's gone. Like, I bought a little gimbal for my phone because I'm going to go to a client's convention and do some recording. And I did all the research. Yeah, I did all the research myself. I looked at reviews, I looked at feedback, I watched videos on it. And so when I finally made a purchasing decision, I didn't talk to anybody and I didn't have to trust anybody to make this purchase. So
the trust part is interesting because data shows that millennials prefer robo investing over investing with like an actual investment banker.
yeah,
Because we trust algorithms and data in theory more than people, even though oftentimes people are the ones who are creating it.
yeah,
But it's almost like there's this move of wanting to not have to talk to anyone or work with anyone until like you absolutely have to. And so when someone is coming to you mentioned they come to your website, they look around, they feel like they know you and then decide they want to work with you and then they engage in that conversation. It's
because those are here's like, I guess, marketing advice number 3. Like, figure out your ICP and then play to your ICP. Like, and then just anyone that's not your ICP, just, I'm sorry, like that's not what I'm selling. Like, if you don't want to buy $1 million bottle of champagne, like, then you're not buying it. Like, that's, be okay with it, but then also be okay with the consequence of that, right? So I think everything I do is like the ICP that I want to work with, the people that want to be knowledgeable, the people that want to trust me, the people that want to like learn and like be a partner and kind of work together. Like, that's my whole process. And so the people that are offended by that, or they just want to very like, where's the button to give you money? And then like, if you fail, like, I want to sue you. Like, no, I don't want to do that. Like, there's other, go get the bro stuff guys, like, to go do that. That's not the way I do business. So I think knowing your ICP and really like trying to hone in on that and play to them, I think that's going to give you success, because then there's going to be that kind of automatic filter. And then on the sales side of it, and I think this is an area that maybe we're all failing a little too, is there is still a human being on the other end. And so we need to basically figure out how we incentivize people to make decisions, or how we influence kind of their buying behavior. And I think the field of behavioral economics is making a lot of way in that. And I have a degree in economics, and I appreciate like the kind of the social side of that. So I think for marketers now, coming up with creative images and creating up, or like the creative piece of it, okay, cool, but that's not sufficient. Now get it to the next level of like, how are you actually influencing a buying decision and moving people through a process? I think that's where we need to get to. So is it sales? Marketing is looking more like sales, and sales is looking more like marketing. I think that's kind of the direction that we're going into.
Yeah, it's kind of like a convergence of it.
Yeah.
It feels like. Yeah, which will, I mean, there's so many marketers right now that battle with where like the BDR, SDR team sits. When it comes to the B2B side, they battle with sharing budget with sales. That there's definitely companies that I think it's going to be a struggle for them to embrace that.
Yeah.
But the ones where sales and marketing is really unified as like one motion, it feels like that's the path forward for real success.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you've ever read Daniel Pink's To Sell is Human, but
I started it and then I got distracted by another book, I think, but I started it, but I did not finish it.
I definitely recommend that one, is like, because the premise of the book is that you're always selling. Like, doesn't matter where you are in the company, whether that's another department that's taking the work that you're doing, or it's pitching an idea to your boss, or trying to get your employees, like, you're always quote unquote selling. And so there's basically some foundational concepts to like how to make that those conversations a little more influential, or just kind of help incentivize people to kind of make some choices. And so I definitely recommend that book. Even for like the marketers that are like, well, our job is just awareness and just to kind of raise, get people kind of aware of the brand. Okay, fine. But then can you get them into that next step? Like, can you just,
Yeah, everything ties back to sales end of the day.
I mean, you're a business owner, so then yes, you get it. Yeah.
Oh, no, 100%. Internal PR, I think, is something a lot of companies miss. But if you can do like your internal PR in terms of how do you share marketing wins, how do you share marketing activity, that is like such a game changer. If you can articulate it in a way that people understand your value, like that's how marketing becomes a revenue center, not a cost center.
Yeah.
And that is literally just selling marketing internal.
Well, and the client that you have, sure, marketing got them there, right? But it's the customer service that keeps them there.
Yeah.
Or it's the,
or honestly, sometimes it's just great product market fit.
Right?
It's the product.
Yeah. Like, hey, my house is on fire and you sell fire hoses. Yay. Now my fire's out. That's awesome. but the fact that it was the rest of the team that helped provide that, then there's the marketing opportunity too. So it's not just like, hey, this is going to solve a problem for you, but like by the marketing team being kind of embedded, or everybody kind of responsible for marketing and sales, then they can contribute to that message to say, by the way, I was on the phone with this guy and we were able to solve this thing for him, and like now they're totally super happy. Great, let's capture that and let's put that into our marketing. And so yeah, I don't know, I get a sense of kind of what you're saying too, is like the way that we've done things in the past, like 10, 20 years ago, it's definitely changing. And so we need to be adaptive and start embracing that more.
Yeah. What do you think is coming down the road in the next like 6 to 12 months that marketers need to be aware of?
I just think their jobs are going to get more complex. Like I definitely think the adoption of AI, like it's just growing leaps and bounds. It's doing images now, it's doing videos, it's getting better at response. It's actually even I use a program called Cast Magic to actually evaluate my videos, and it can do tone and feedback and emotion. And so like it's even caught things that I missed in a conversation. It was like, hey, by the way, this client's really worried about this thing. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh.
I need to make sure, like, when I talk to them next time, like, that I'm conscious of that. So I think, if you're good at what you do, great. How does that provide economic value, or how does that drive people to a decision point? Like, you're going to become more responsible and accountable for that. And then we're going to see more and more people's jobs replaced as AI becomes better at what it does, and automations take over more. So I think if you can put yourself in a position where you can leverage AI and leverage automations, and make that actually an exponential X factor to what you do, and figure out how to make that, then you're going to be okay. If you're sitting around hoping that someone's going to hire you to do a graphic design job like you did 10 years ago or 5 years ago, or even building a website, like, I'm sorry, man, you gotta figure out how to like level up quick. So
yeah, I love it. Well,
it wasn't very optimistic, was it?
Well, it's truthful though. I think it's like accurate to where people. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying things, even if it doesn't. Saying things that don't feel sugar coated, when it's like the reality. Like the reality is, I think AI isn't coming for your job, but some 20-year-old who understands AI and grew up on YouTube where they could binge your job and everything you do for like, I think back to aging myself here. I decided in middle school I wanted to study abroad. And so I started teaching myself Italian online. YouTube didn't exist. Yeah. Like mozzarella. But YouTube didn't exist. Like I learned Italian on websites that had pronunciation guides that didn't even have audio.
Okay.
And then I eventually like found some that had audio. And then I look at like high schoolers today.
Yeah.
If you want to do anything, there's a million YouTube videos on how to do it.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, so like, yeah. And then people were like, well, why would I pay for a program if I can just YouTube it? It's like, there's still, you still need to learn some structure, but yeah, I think that's you can access anything now these days. So, so let me be positive then. On the positive side, then let's leverage what you just said. If you want to do something and develop a skill, you have the ability to do that. And you don't need to worry about taking classes or whatever. You can get basically a functional knowledge of just about anything really, through videos and getting access. And so leveling yourself up and like getting yourself to that next level, it's actually easier these days than it has been in the past. So, I don't know if you remember like getting certificates or having to go to like community college to get stuff, or going back to college to learn things.
Oh yeah.
Now education is becoming one of those commodities that we have just readily available to us. So
I was just thinking, I finished grad school in 2020 and I took a marketing class. I did a data science program in business analytics.
Okay.
So just statistics.
Fellow data nerd. Woohoo!
Yeah, pretty much. But I took a marketing class in there as part of it.
Yeah.
And so 2020, and they had a graph that showed Pinterest as a new platform, and it had Google Plus listed.
Oh yeah.
And having worked in marketing for my entire life, it feels like at this point, I was like, Google Plus died. Like I remember in 2016, I contributed to a Social Media Today blog post saying that Google Plus was going to die. Like, Google Plus is dead.
You were a futurist at the time. You didn't even
realize it. I was a futurist at the time. Actually, I think I said like Google Plus will continue to not die, even though it really is dead. They're just not taking it down.
Yeah.
But in 2020, they're talking about Google Plus still and Pinterest, and like that was my graduate level experience in marketing. Was it's still like years behind,
Yeah.
and so I feel like if you exist today and you want to literally learn anything, there's no reason not to. Like,
Yeah.
there's no reason not to. It's all on the internet, ready for you to consume.
Yeah. And I think the aging workforce right now, boomers are just in a lot of spots and they're on their way out. And I think even the millennials, they have this interesting like work life balance kind of. I don't know. So I think Zers kind of have a lot of opportunities right now to kind of to get ahead. So
Oh, yeah. I'm really excited to see what it looks like for kids that were graduating college and entering the workforce during the pandemic. Because I think it was such a weird time
yeah.
and there was such fewer jobs and opportunities and internships weren't in person. And it was just such a weird time. But if you were someone who was really hungry and kind of figured out your niche or what you wanted to do, there's so much opportunity. I feel like it was a great time for people who were really self-motivated
Yeah.
and self-started and could just like get their own thing going, but it was not a good time for like the average. In 10 years I feel like it's going to be like a really weird separation of people who are either highly skilled or highly generalized
Yeah.
with it.
And it's funny because I'm on the border of X and millennial, and so Xers, that's what, like, you look at a lot of the tech companies that are there out there that are like huge. They're Xers that kind of created and led that because we were the latchkey kids. We're kind of left on our own and we had to figure out our own stuff. And
Yeah.
I almost broke my leg on my bike one time coming from home, and my mom wasn't gonna be home for a couple hours, so I had to figure out how to like drag myself and my bike all the way home. And
You were in the gap. You were in that generation of the reason that there were commercials reminding people that they had kids at 8 p.m. and asking where their kids were.
Yes. Yeah. Do you know who your kids are? It was one of those like it was just yeah. So I think like when it comes to innovation and everything else, we had a season of that, and then we had a season where like there was plenty, and so people were taking care of their kids, and so they were helicoptering them, and there was participation awards and all that. I don't know, all that kind of stuff. But I think now, like, yeah, we're getting back to harsh reality. We can't trust. I'm not trying to get myself in trouble, but I swear. But enterprise, like trusting I mean, I'm an entrepreneur too, so maybe that's why I'm not good at this.
Yeah.
But trusting the enterprise companies to take care of you, and like that's going to be the way that you're going to survive and live, and that's you're going to retire from the company. That's not happening. Like,
No.
if you're not building, I think what the millennials got right is building yourself as a brand that's co-branding with whatever you're doing. I think that was great. And the side hustle, another thing, great. Have a good safety net that you've built yourself. So if your main job doesn't work out, at least you've got something to fall back into until you get into the next thing. And then, with companies, I mean, the pandemic basically accelerated where we were kind of going anyway. And so now, people are jumping jobs every 2 years because companies aren't giving raises every year. So, you're not getting your 3%, which inflation's like at 2 to 4 some years. Jumping jobs, you get a 20% increase. So I think those spots are becoming fewer and fewer as companies are realizing they can be leaner and leaner. And now they're going to start relying more on automation and AI and everything else. And so if you're looking for the big companies to take care of you, oh man, I'm sorry. Like, I just think it's getting more competitive. So figure out how to make your own way. And there's a lot of opportunity, like you were saying too, with education and access.
It really is a weird shift where the safe path is, and I say safe in terms of the more secure and what's coming path is being self-employed or doing something on your own, at least on the side. And the risky one is like going and working at a company and having that be like your only thing for a couple years.
Yeah.
Which never was not the case for a long time.
Yeah. Well, because, we trusted companies to take care of everybody, and, you looked at like income distribution between the guy on the line and the CEO. It was like 30%, 37% difference, I think, at one point. Now, you look at, well, Bezos isn't in there anymore, but like his he was like 10,000 times like the lowest paid employee or something like that. So
10,000 times an hour.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
his hourly is 10,000 times the annual salary of the highest paid frontline worker.
And it's like, what do we like? All that
How's it real?
all
Like,
that cash is not in. So my only complaint to, and see, now I'm getting myself in trouble again. All that cash is not flowing in our system, and that's the part that kind of cheeses me off. And that's why I like small businesses or small to mid-sized businesses, is because they're usually hiring local talent. They're spending the money locally. They're taking care of their family, and so they're actually part of the community because they're hiring people and they're giving people jobs and they're providing goods and services to the people that they live with, and they're
yeah.
accountable to them, and they actually know the people and can see them. So
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great spot to wrap. If people want to learn more about you, they want to connect, where do they go?
so I'm easy to find. I couldn't be an SEO guy with roots if you couldn't find me. So Joshua Monge, Monge, and then on the fractional COO side, it's thinkadaptbuild.com. Really easy to find me there. Yeah, and then I can give you some stuff for your show notes if you want to throw them in there. So
Yeah, we'll link everything in the show notes below. And we'll see everyone on the next episode.